enemies, books from his own bookseller who took, it sometimes struck him, inconceivable things for granted. He touched nothing, approached nothing, only turned a heavy eye over the work, as it were, of the night. The fact, in his high, wide-windowed room, where duty shed its hard light into every corner, of the still, unashamed admonitions. It was the old rising tide, and it rose and rose even under a minute's watching. It had been up to his shoulders last night. It was up to his chin now. Nothing had gone, had passed on while he slept. Everything had stayed. Nothing that he could yet feel had died. So naturally, one would have thought, many things, on the contrary, had been born. To let them alone, these things, the new things, let them utterly alone and see if that, by chance, wouldn't somehow prove the best way to deal with them. This fancy brushed his face for a moment as a possible solution, just giving it, as so often before, a cool wave of air. Then he knew again, as well as ever, that leaving was difficult, leaving impossible, that the only remedy, the true soft effacing sponge, would be to be left, to be forgotten. There was no footing on which a man who had ever liked life, liked it at any rate as he had, could now escape it. He must reap as he had sown. It was a thing of meshes. He had simply gone to sleep under the net and had simply waked up there. The net was too fine. The cords crossed each other at spots too near together, making it each a little tight, hard knot that tired fingers were this morning too limp and too tender to touch. Our poor friends touched nothing, only stole significantly into his pockets as he wandered over to the window and faintly grasped at the energy of nature. What was most overwhelming was that she herself was so ready. She had soothed him rather, the night before, in the small hours by the lamp. From behind the drawn curtain of his study, the rain had been audible, and in a manner merciful. Washing the window in a steady flood, it had seemed the right thing, the retarding, interrupting thing, the thing that, if it would only last, might clear the ground by floating out to a boundless sea, the innumerable objects among which his feet stumbled and strayed. He had positively laid down his pen as on a sense of friendly pressure from it. The kind, full swish had been on the glass when he turned out his lamp. He had left his phrase unfinished, and his papers lying quite as for the flood to bear them away in its rush. But there still on the table were the bare bones of the sentence, and not all of those. The single thing borne away, and that he could never recover, was the missing half that might have paired with it and begotten a figure. Yet he could at last only turn back from the window. The world was everywhere, without and within, and the great staring egotism of its health and strength wasn't to be trusted for tact or delicacy. He faced about precisely to meet his servant and the absurd solemnity of 2 telegrams on a tray. Brown ought to have kicked them into the room. Then he himself might have kicked them out. "And you told me to remind you, sir." George Dane was at last angry. "Remind me of nothing. But you insisted, sir, that I was to insist." He turned away in despair, using a pathetic quaver at absurd variance with his words. "If you insist, Brown, I'll kill you." He found himself anew at the window, whence, looking down from his 4th floor, he could see the vast neighborhood, under the trumpet blare of the sky, beginning to rush about. There was a silence, but he knew Brown hadn't left him, knew exactly how straight and serious and stupid and faithful he stood there. After a minute, he heard him again. "It's only because, sir, you can't remember." At this Dane did flash round. It was more than at such a moment he could bear. "Can't